Do you need a new sweet potato pie recipe? Let me give you something to work with, child. Like I said in that red velvet cake video, Thanksgiving will be here before we know it. So let's get this sweet potato pie recipe down pat. Okay, start with 5 clean and scrubbed sweet potatoes. Piercing all of them all around, and then you're gonna roast them in the oven at 400 for 45 minutes. Now, after the sweet potatoes are done roasting, we're going to prep these pie crusts. Now, this is just a Pillsbury deep dish 9-inch pie crust. Bought from the store. You can make your own pie crust if you want. I then take a little bit of the butter that I've melted for the recipe and brush the bottom of the pie crust. And then I take an additional, not the brown sugar that I'm using for the recipe, but some additional brown sugar to smooth around the bottom of the pie crust. For me, this helps to keep the pie crust from getting soggy at the bottom. So, it works for me. What you'll do is you'll just put the oven on 350 and then you just put the pie crust in for about 10 to 15 minutes before adding your pie filling. It'll bubble when you put it in there, but do not pop it. From there, you'll peel the skin off of the cool potatoes. It takes about 20 minutes for them to be able to be handled, so just give it a few minutes to cool. And then from there, I use my food processor because I do not like stringy sweet potatoes. And I like my sweet potato pie as smooth as can be. So I use my Ninja processor to puree the sweet potatoes. And I found that when I do use that, as opposed to just using my stand mixer, all of the strings are gone. There's no strings at all in my sweet potatoes, and it's very, very smooth. So if you have a food processor, I would suggest you use that to make your filling much smoother. So once that's done, I'm going to take the sweet potatoes that have been pureed and put them in my stand mixer. I'll show you here. See how smooth that looks? No lumps, no bumps, no strings. That's exactly how you want your filling to look in your sweet potato pie. So here I'm adding 1 stick of butter. We're going to start putting the flavors in this filling now. So that was 1 stick of melted butter, followed by 1/2 cup of evaporated milk. Let that mix around a little bit. And then from there, we'll add in 2 tablespoons of your condensed milk. You can use it or you could skip it. Some people don't use it. I like both, but it's up to you. Then we're going to add 1 cup of brown sugar, followed by 1 cup of white sugar. And then we'll let both of those mix very, very well so that all of those flavors are incorporated. And then from there, we're going to do just a smidget, I would say maybe 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg and then a tablespoon of cinnamon. I prefer the warm cinnamon flavor over the nutty nutmeg, but hey, it's up to you what you prefer. From there, we'll add the juice of 1/2 of an orange and 1/2 of a lemon. Make sure you squeeze it in a separate bowl so there's no seeds. And yes, it is not traditional, but I'm telling you, it takes the recipe up a notch. And then add in a tablespoon of vanilla, as well as 3 eggs. Then your pie filling looks like this. Don't forget the 3 eggs. It's not in the video, but do not forget the 3 eggs. All right, so now we're going to take those pie crusts that we've already prepared and pour the filling in it. Now, remember I told you that they would bubble, right? So you see the bubbles here? Do not pop them. Do not poke any holes in this pie crust. Just fill it up. I'm telling you, it'll go down as you're baking it. Don't worry about it. So take your filling and just pour it into the pie crust. I like to pour mine, smooth it so that I know that it's going to be perfectly round, because with those bubbles in it, sometimes it makes it look like it's not symmetrical. So just pour it and pour it and pour it, and eventually it'll come into a perfect round circle over top of those bubbles, and those bubbles will go down as it's baking in the oven. So this is what they'll look like. You're going to bake them at 350 for about 45 minutes to an hour. Just use the toothpick test to make sure it's done. And then boom, here you go. 2 beautiful sweet potato pies. Now I use these cooling racks because I feel like it actually helps the pies cool a lot faster than if I just leave them out on the counter. And then I normally refrigerate overnight so it's a little more solid when I cut it. However, my family could not wait for these sweet potato pie slices, so I had to slice it while it was still hot, and that's why it's falling apart. But refrigerate and you'll have beautiful slices. Here's your sweet potato pie. Enjoy.